This is Emily, president of Self Advocates of ADEC and podcast host. Welcome to another episode of our monthly podcast, Expert Tips by ADEC Self Advocates. Hello, everybody. This is Expert Tips by ADEC Self Advocates, and today we have Sarah back again.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great. It's getting warmer outside, so it's a good day.
Yeah. So we got a lot of questions
Okay.
today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we asked our listeners
Yeah.
to submit questions for us,
Uh-huh.
and we had like 30 plus questions.
Holy
So,
moly.
yeah. So if we
Awesome.
don't get to all of them, that is okay.
Well, I'm here. You can ask away. I love this setup. It's beautiful.
All right. Thank you. Anyway, so this person said, "Hi, quick question. When I need help, I get nervous talking to people in charge. What can I say?"
Well, that's definitely a good question. I think all of us get a little nervous sometimes when talking to people, especially new people in different situations. I think if you're nervous, you are more than welcome to let them know, hey, I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable right now. You always can say how you're feeling, and usually somebody will always be very understanding. But you just have to remember to kind of try and talk slowly and just get your point across. But nerves are completely normal, and I think I experience them. Anxiety happens, and I just think you never want to not ask for help, right? In a situation, you want to be very open and honest. So I think just being straightforward about it is totally fine.
I feel like they mentioned it a little bit like in their question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like if you need help and there's someone in charge around and but like you get nervous talking to that person,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you could just tell them that like I get nervous talking to people in charge.
And typically, when they're in charge, they kind of have a responsibility to have those listening ears open to people.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is I want to ask for what I need, but I worry I'll sound rude. How do I say it in a respectful way?
Well, so obviously you want to use kind words. You want to say it. You want to be very thoughtful about what you're saying. Maybe think about it ahead of time, um, and just kind of okay, how can I approach this in a polite way? Um, Say, hey, I don't mean to be rude, or hey, I have a quick question. Could you please listen to what I have to say? I definitely think you just think about it ahead of time. Maybe even if you have to write it down. Sometimes I write down things and I'm just like, this is what I need to ask for. These are my ideas. Let me write them down and then practice them.
Very true. I am a writing fiend.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
I am such a hoarder. I have tons of paper everywhere.
I think that's truly a lot of people are
Mm.
like that.
Hi, how do I tell someone no when they keep pushing me?
Yeah, so I think it's normal to be frustrated when someone keeps pestering you about something and they're not really listening to you. So I think just saying, hi, like I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm really not comfortable with that. You can just, like I said, polite words and just kind of be firm, but very kind about it. Don't come across and be like, I said no is no. You don't want to be too aggressive. You could say, I'm just not comfortable with that. I really, really want you to respect my decision to say no. Something like that.
Yeah, unfortunately nowadays not many people respect the no, but it'd be nice if people did respect
Yeah,
the
I
no.
think, we're getting better. You just gotta, people, they have to be raised right and learn respectful values and stuff like that. So, hmm
Sometimes I know what I want, but I can't find the right words fast. How do I explain it better?
um, so if you know what you want, like I said, be prepared. Take a notebook, write it down. Okay. If you're going into a conversation that you're nervous about, I would say just prep ahead. And just, you know, to explain it better, you have to be really comfortable with your feelings. And when you express yourself, you kind of have to work on that. So if you're, nervous about expressing yourself, that's something to work on in the mirror. Like, say, this is what I want. I mean, I know like a lot of our clients have meetings and they talk about things that they need and want, with their case manager or whatever. That's a really good time the night before. You could even you could write it down and then speak it to yourself. I think that would make you more comfortable saying it and saying it exactly how you want to come across in the moment.
Yeah, you want to believe what you feel.
And say it in the mirror. I mean, who cares? Have fun with it.
Yeah, I do like positive affirmations in the mirror.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. Good for
Yeah,
you, girl. I love
thank you.
that.
It's something that like truly helps me like start the day.
Yeah. On a
Like
positive note.
exactly.
That's a good idea. Maybe I need to start doing that.
How can you use to explain it better is maybe try to take the time to slow down a little bit. You don't
hmm
need to find the right words like immediately, like super quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Ask, can we slow this down? Maybe, talk a little slower. Yeah, people have to talk slower, and that's totally okay to ask for.
Hey, can I ask people to slow down and use easier words? What do I say?
That's a good one. I think just saying, hey, you just really need to say, can you please slow down? Say, I kind of want to think about it a little bit. Can you just kind of take things a little slower so I can understand better? Really hit that so
Yeah.
I can understand what you're saying a little better. Just slow down a little bit. That's okay to ask somebody. That's totally fine.
Yeah, I say that sometimes myself.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Can you repeat that?
exactly. There you go. That's perfect.
People talk to my staff or family instead of me. What's a good way to say, please talk to me?
So I've come across this a lot, and we actually had a self advocates meeting yesterday, and that was some frustration with some of the clients. I went around and said, do you feel like you're being spoken to at your meetings, or do you feel like they're talking about you, or do they do a good job at including you? And so I think it's totally fine to say, you know, hey, like this is my opinion, and I have that right to say my opinion. I want you to hear what I'm thinking. So you just have to speak up for yourself. Your voice is very important and you definitely deserve to be heard. So I think just saying, can I just insert my opinion real quick? I want to kind of get things through clearly. Um, totally, I would just, say that.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, quick question. How do I ask for more time to think before I say yes?
That's a good one. I think you can just, I think you should just say straightforward. Can I get a couple minutes to think about that? Or do you care if I take this home and think about it overnight and get back to you on this? I think it's totally fine to ask for, to take something and just say, I want to think on it for a little bit. So maybe I'll get back to you on that. Maybe I can give you a call tomorrow or we can meet again tomorrow or something like that. You definitely have the right to think about, something that you are passionate about and you want to find an answer for. So just ask, maybe take it home and get back to it the next day.
All right. Yeah, I really like asking moments where I'm like, oh, I've never thought about it that way before. I don't know that answer.
Right.
Can you give me some time so I can figure out what that answer is?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm. At work, how do I ask for help without feeling like I'm doing something wrong?
So in the workplace, we're all learning, right? Everybody learns, as you go about your position or what you're doing. So there is nothing wrong with asking for help or, saying, hey, can you kind of guide me through this real quick? Hey, I have a quick question. We're learning and everybody kind of builds in their career position. So I think it's totally fine to just ask for help. And, we all do things wrong occasionally, especially at work. We learn new things. So I think it's totally fine to say, hey, I have a quick question, and just build your skill set.
Yeah, that's great. I like that.
hmm
I'm trying to do my job well, but I need changes, like a different schedule or clearer steps. How do I ask my boss?
So I would say if you want to ask your boss, you could say, hey, do you have time for us to have a quick chat? So maybe, I don't know, it depends what work setting you're in, but maybe you say, hey, can we have a meeting? Maybe send an email or just talk to them in person and say, hey, can I talk to you for about 10 to 15 minutes? It shouldn't take long. I have a question for you. And I think it's totally fine to tell them, hey, in this position, I'm feeling like I'm unsure of myself and I kind of need an easier guide to do my job well. I need it written out. And a lot of times I'm a very visual learner. So whether that means they go with you and show you things or whether that means they bullet point write a list down, but I think just definitely asking, do you have time to talk privately? I think that's important and just getting your feelings across.
Yeah, that sounds great.
hmm Yeah.
How do I bring up a problem with a roommate without starting a fight?
I've had so many roommates before, so I really get this question. I think a lot of times you need to be open with your roommate. I think saying, "Hey, can I talk to you about it?" I think the more you don't talk about things that frustrate you, the more it builds up and you could blow up. I think it's really smart for you to kind of tell them how you're feeling and be open and honest from the start. If something bothers you, maybe talk to them about it. Um, or if you have staff in the home, that's a good one. Maybe talk to the staff about how can I approach this with so and so. I do think if you never say anything, it will build up and blow up over time. So I think it's super important to just kind of talk through little things. And if little things get on your nerves, that's normal, right? Everybody has a roommate. We're never going to be completely the same person. So when you
Everyone
move
has a.
in,
Oh, sorry, I don't mean to
no, you're
interrupt.
fine, honey.
I feel like everyone has like a different kind of like nervous tick or something.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And I think that's the hard part about roommates, right? Sometimes you don't know them well and you have to get to know them and live with them at the same time, which is never easy. But I think if you have like a house staff or a family member you can talk to about it too, it's always helpful to get a second opinion.
Yeah, random scenario
Yeah.
that is similar, and this is for me. This is not actually a question.
Okay.
Okay. I officially made a decision to move into a group home
That's
officially.
amazing. Good for you.
Thank you.
Clap round of applause.
Mm. So, we are going through that process of about to move in, but I'm also getting like really like scared of the change.
Change is so hard. I'll be very honest with you. I struggle with change. I've always struggled with change. I think a lot of people do. But we just have to remember change can be something really positive. You never know what you're capable of unless you try it. So if you are at home constantly sitting at home, you never know what it would be like to live on your own or live with different roommates. Sometimes you just have to go for it and not be afraid of it because I hold myself back a lot because I'm terrified of change. It's totally fine. You just have to welcome it and not be so afraid of it.
Yeah, sometimes I resist change, so I try not.
I know. I'm the same exact way. I tell you what, if I could have everything the same all the time,
Yeah.
100% would do it.
But what do I do when someone tells me I can't do something?
If somebody tells you you can't do something, you can definitely question. You have the right to question why. I want to know why I can't do that. Why can't I go with you here? Why can't I do this? I think I can. It might take me a little bit longer or a different way of learning how to do something, but just saying no isn't really acceptable to me. I want to learn. You just have to be very, honest of why are you telling me no? No is not in my vocabulary. I can do what I set my mind to, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a lot of people that could relate to that.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah. There are meanings about my life, services, goals, plans.
Mhm.
How do I ask to be included and listened to?
So a lot of times, obviously people who are on like a waiver, they have meetings. I think they have about 4 meetings a year with case manager, family, guardian, whatever. So I think a lot of times the case manager really does have to include you in that. And you'll be there and they can ask you questions. Obviously, not everybody has that situation, right? So I think you need to know what you want. You need to have, your goals that you want, plans that you want to do, ready to present to people. And whether it just be a family member, kind of talking to them and saying like, this is what I want to go for. But in your meetings, it's very important to voice your opinion and be present in that. If you disagree with something, you need to be honest and say that, which is, I understand, difficult, but that's why you can practice. Come prepared, like I said, have things written down that this is the goal I want to achieve in the next year. Because obviously, in most meetings with case managers, you do have goals to set, right? Um, if you're unhappy in this service and you want something else, you can voice that. So I think just being comfortable with the people you're around and talking about it is very important. They're meeting about you and your life. So obviously you have a huge say in that. So, you can say, hey, well, I understand my guardian may feel this way, but I really want this. I mean, you're allowed to speak up for yourself. And that's what self advocates is all about, is advocating.
Right.
Hmm.
Hi, I tried to speak up and I got ignored. What do I do next?
I think if you're ignored by a certain person, you can maybe pull them aside and say, if it's in person, you can obviously pull them aside, just tap them, say, hey, can I talk to you for a second? I feel like you truly didn't hear what I had to say and you didn't take me very seriously, and that kind of hurt my feelings. I want you to listen to what I have to say. So I think it's very important to just kind of take that person aside and let them know that you did not feel heard, and just say, hey, I think it just kind of hurt my feelings. I would love to discuss this further, and especially when it's in a group setting and you get ignored, that's kind of horrifying. So I think just taking somebody aside and saying that, or, you have that right to talk about your feelings, and, you want to be heard. Everybody deserves to be heard. So definitely saying, if it's in person, that kind of hurt my feelings. I want you to listen to what I have to say. What I have to say is important as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what makes it hard to talk about your feelings because sometimes in moments like that.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. It is hard to talk about your feelings. I have a tendency to be more quiet about that.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this has been an expert tip by Self Advocates. Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome. It was a joy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to come back.
Absolutely. And good luck with your move and everything. That's so
Thanks.
exciting. I'm happy for you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening. Oh, this is us signing off for right now. Thanks for tuning in and hearing from your neighbors with disabilities. Check out next month's podcast for a new guest and topic. I am Emily, host of Expert Tips by ADEC Self Advocates. See you next month.